folks, Dave here at Thunder Mesa Studio on a Workbench Wednesday. Yes, Workbench Wednesdays are back, and I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. Hope you are having a great day wherever you are and whenever you happen to be watching this. You know, lately I've been thinking a lot about the parameters of model railroading. You know, what is and what is not a part of this wonderful hobby of ours. And I know from personal experience that there are some in the older guard of this hobby that can be a little bit gatekeepy, for lack of a better word. They can be a little bit conservative about what is and is not a model railroad and how you should proceed and what your goals as a model railroad builder should be. But who really gets to decide that? It's not like there's some overarching authority that gets to dictate what is and what is not a model railroad. Even the NMRA, the National Model Railroad Association, doesn't have that kind of magical power. Now, thanks to people like you who watch this channel and subscribe, I've been able to build up a little bit of a platform here, and I'm often contacted by people who are interested in getting into the hobby or new to the hobby. And what I've heard from a lot of them, particularly younger people, is that that sort of old guard conservative gatekeeping can be very discouraging. So I'm going to say something to you that I wish someone had said to me when I was first starting out with trains many years ago. And that is, you can do whatever you want. So if you feel like you need someone's permission to do something wild and new and innovative or a little offbeat or outside the norm, you can have mine. But honestly, you really don't need anyone's permission. I really only have two criteria for what should be in a model railroad. Number one, trains of some kind, preferably that move. And number two, a story or an idea or a point of view that you're trying to get across. Everything else is artistry and engineering. And you will learn those. You'll get better at those the more and more you do them. You will learn and grow as a human no matter what you choose to model. And that is really the whole point of this entire exercise. So you can do whatever you want. And please ignore anyone who tries to tell you that you're doing model railroading wrong. They're out of line just for saying that. Any field of endeavor attracts its self-appointed experts, and this hobby is certainly no exception. We've got our fair share. Now, I believe that most of them are actually trying to be helpful, but there are also usually a few who are simply blowhards who want to show off how smart they are. If you present your work in a public forum, you're going to be open to criticism, especially if what you do is novel in any way or beyond the usual fare. My advice is take it or leave it as it helps your process. But you can almost always ignore unsolicited critiques. That's when someone offers you an opinion on your work that you simply did not ask for. There are people who assume that anything that you post online is fair game and you're asking for their expert opinion. The truth is, this goes way beyond modeling and making too. And I think we all know somebody like this. And by the way, if you don't know somebody like this, I hate to tell you, it's probably you. And if it is you, you should stop. You're not helping. The thing about giving unsolicited critiques to a complete stranger's labor of love is that there is no way of doing it without sounding like a complete jerk. So as we all hopefully learned in kindergarten, if you can't say something nice, it's best not to say anything at all. That said, you should definitely seek out the opinions of experts and fellow modelers and makers who you know and respect. That's a great way to grow and learn and to try new things that you may not have thought of on your own. So you can do whatever you want, you can model whatever you want, any place, any time period, real or imagined. The point is, this is a hobby. It's not rocket science. We're doing it primarily to create enjoyment for ourselves, and if we're lucky for, a few select others too. But you are the primary audience. You have to please yourself first and foremost. You can do whatever you want, but if you do something that's outside of the mainstream, be prepared because somebody will say, well, that's nice, but that's not model railroading. What they mean is that's not model railroading to them, but who cares what they think? If you set out in this hobby to please the standards and expectations of others or some other imagined authority, that is a recipe for disappointment, and you'll probably end up losing interest after a short period of time. And there's no doubt in my mind that there are some experts out there who will probably disagree with me on all of this. Many of my friends in this hobby, and I know some people that follow the channel too, are what are known as freelance modelers. Those are modelers who prefer to invent their own prototype or to fictionalize an existing prototype to tell a different kind of story. It's a what if sort of railroad. And freelancers can run the gamut from just slightly off prototype to complete and utter fantasy. It just all depends on the kind of modeling they want to do and the kind of story they want to tell. And I can't stress this enough. It's all valid. We can quibble about skill level, technique, and execution, but you really can't argue with anyone's idea or basic premise. And this goes the other way too. Sadly, I've heard more than a couple of freelancers say that strict prototype modelers, so-called rivet counters, just don't get it, and they're not having any fun. That's ridiculous. Of course they're having fun. They're getting the enjoyment out of it that they want. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting so much time into it. Different people enjoy different things. Let them. Some people really enjoy operations, while others couldn't care less and just want to make models. Some want to recreate a place and time and history as accurately as possible, while others enjoy trains going around castles and mermaid lagoons. The point is, if there's a train in it and you're making models, it's model railroading. Everyone's enjoyment is equally valid. If you follow this channel, and thank you so much if you do, you've seen the kind of modeling that I prefer. Well-detailed, story-based layouts that pack a lot into a small area. I love structures and scenery, first and foremost. But those are just my personal preferences. Others might prefer a big HO scale empire in a basement or an attic, transition era, Pennsylvania Railroad, Santa Fe, Union Pacific, something like that, that packs in tons of operational possibilities. That's great. Cool. It's all cool. I like the Old West, the Desert Southwest, Victorian architecture, the colorful locomotives, narrow gauge, a certain humor and caricature and Disney-esque quality to the modeling. Those are my personal preferences. That's what makes me happy as a model maker. Other builders, other makers of model railroads are going to have different opinions and different preferences, and it's all good. It is completely unnecessary to choose sides. We're not making up teams for softball. And, none of this is new. What got me thinking about all of this again was remembering back to a thread I had been following many years ago in one of the old model railroading forums. Sorry, I can't remember which site it was off the top of my head. But I was lurking in this thread where a very heated discussion was going on about what was and what was not to be considered legitimate model railroading. And one poster in particular got my attention because he brought up Malcolm Furlow. And he said that while Malcolm's work was very artistic, it wasn't real model railroading in his opinion. And several other people on there agreed with him. And I found all of this to be completely absurd. Malcolm Furlow was one of the most influential model railroaders of the 70s and 80s, and probably inspired more people of my generation to get into the hobby than all of those train splainers and gatekeepers combined. And I made a conscious decision then to never be like that, to never mistake my preferences and my opinions for the gospel truth, to never try to tell people how to enjoy their hobby. I mean, come on, it's up to you. Enjoy it any way you like. In the beginning, I started this channel just as a way to share what I was doing. A side effect of that I could never have foreseen was that what I was doing would have influence on, other modelers. When I began the Thunder Mesa layout, I gave myself permission to do exactly what I wanted. It was not a layout designed to please the sensibilities of traditional model railroading. I had tried and failed to do that in the past, mostly because my heart wasn't in it. So I set out to do exactly what I wanted. And in so doing, I've gained a small and dedicated but growing audience. And for that, I am eternally grateful. Over time, my goals for this platform have shifted a little bit from just showing what I'm doing to helping other hobbyists do what they want to do, sharing ideas and materials and techniques to help everyone move forward. You see, we all influence and inspire each other, either directly or indirectly, and I think that's a great thing. The most rewarding thing I ever hear from doing this is when someone tells me that they got into the hobby or back into the hobby after a long absence from watching my videos. That's incredibly humbling, and it means the world to me. I think maybe they were looking for someone to give them permission to do something different, something a little non-traditional. Well, you have it. You have that permission. But it doesn't come from me. It comes from the fact that freedom of expression is required in any creative endeavor. So, express yourself. Model trains may be seen as trivial or folk art at best. And let's face it, we're not curing diseases here. But we are bringing a smile. And the world desperately needs that too. Now, before we wrap this up today, I want you to think of your best idea for a model railroad that you're willing to share and put it in the comments down below. It can be based on a real-world prototype, like the Denver and Rio Grande Western, the Santa Fe, the Penzi, whatever. Something you want to model as accurately as possible, down to the smallest detail. Or it can be something completely wild and outlandish, like, say, a mining company on Mars or a train that goes to Neverland. This hobby is your canvas, and you really can do whatever you want. The only limit is imagination. Now, I want to thank you all so much for watching today, and a huge thank you, as usual, to our channel members for helping to make these videos possible. Keep moving forward, my friends. Adios for now.